Hello everybody and all aboard to Chef's Choice. Here's the missing first half of my reviews of the Eurovision in concert performances in Amsterdam. I lost some of the footage, so I had to reshoot it, which is why I uploaded the second half first that you can find up here. So the biggest event in Amsterdam has happened where over 30 acts performed their songs. And they seem to be the only ones that have a professional sound crew, so all the countries sounded a lot better than in the pre-parties before. So let's talk about the countries that performed in random order and how they improved or decreased their chances in the contest, in my opinion. If you like my videos and want to see more of my reviews, please subscribe to my channel to always be up to date. I wasn't able to go to Amsterdam, but you find all the performances on Eurovisionary's channel, which is what I'm basing my reviews on, and I'll put a link in the description below. First off, Hungary. I haven't seen them perform since the national final. You probably know that I wasn't a big fan of AWS international selection, but since then I've listened to the studio version a few times and started to like it a lot more because it sounded more refined. Unfortunately, their performance in Amsterdam reminded me of why I didn't like it in the first place. I know this is a very subjective thing, but I personally don't find any pleasure in watching their performance. It works in the studio version because you can actually hear the different elements. But live, it's all mashed into each other and loses a lot of the quality. It will stand out for sure, and I appreciate it for being different, and of course there will be people that will like this a lot, but not me. Malta. This is the first time that I liked Malta's song actually, because it was much more stripped back to what's necessary. The chorus had a lot of power and the song has more space to come into focus compared to the chaotic performance in Malta. I still think it will be a close call whether she will qualify or not, but her chances just got a bit better. F.Y.R. Macedonia. I have to say her voice never sounded better, not even in the studio version, where I found her voice quite annoying, to be honest. This is their first performance where I enjoyed listening to the full 3 minutes. I don't know what they changed, but they should stick with it. She felt a lot more comfortable and they seem to enjoy themselves much more compared to earlier performances. If that's what we can expect in Lisbon, then I would be happy to see them qualify. Have you ever thought about it? We went too far, now there's no way back, no way back. Have you ever thought about it? We went too far, now there's no way back, no way. San Marino. I'm always sorry when I have to talk about San Marino's song, because I don't want to be that negative. But it's hard to compare this to all the other acts while staying positive. It's just not on the same level as most of the other contestants. Even if the song had been not as generic as it is, there's still the issue that everything about the performance looks kind of trashy. The best thing about it is that they still seem to be enjoying their time, even though they get a lot of critique from all sides. I hope they can stay positive themselves and enjoy their journey while it lasts. Listen up, it's me, Jenny B. What you get is what you see. It's for class of Asians, a special VIP. So you better listen carefully. If they listen, you're doing it. Don't be sad, don't be better, don't be rough and be show me you're better. Hell no, if I say so, get in the car, rev it up and be stuck. Cause we know exactly who we are. Finland. She had a full minute of intro music before Sara Aalto even stepped a foot on the stage, while all the other contestants worked with their 3 minutes. Yes, it was a good entrance, but maybe a little bit narcissistic. Anyway, I'm not judging her on this, but the performance that came afterwards. I've said this a few times now. I actually like her a lot more when she does these smaller performances where she can let loose and improvise instead of the overproduced stagings that she did in X Factor or in Finland's national final, where she always loses herself because she has to focus on all the steps and everything that happens around her. Because she is a great performer, but let her be her natural self. So yes please to this, but no thanks to the big production that we probably will get in Lisbon. Bulgaria. Like France, we can't really judge this performance because Christian Krostov joined in, so it's not comparable to what we will see in Lisbon. I have to say, the song does sound great. Their harmonies are always on point, which is the hardest thing. The harmonies are definitely the most interesting part about this. Everything they do perfectly. But I'm still missing something. I hope they bring in a little bit more motion in Lisbon, so it's not just 5 people standing next to each other for 3 minutes. I do think it can make it to the top 5 though. Austria. His performance in London is still my favorite out of the 3 times that I've seen him now. At the moment it lacks the power that the song needs to be pushed into what it could be though. I know this is harsh, but right now he's still the background singer and not the main act in my opinion. I can imagine that it all comes together in Lisbon, where I guess he will get his own background singers, but I think this song could really benefit from bringing live instruments back on the stage. This could work quite well with a real band playing live. Albania. This was one of the performances I was waiting for the most. We haven't heard him perform this since the national final in December, and I think he did everything right this time. He looked the best he ever did, and finally it didn't look like a disguise. And this is him, this is his voice. It's probably the best male voice in the contest this year, and that's his most powerful tool. A lot of people are underestimating this song in my opinion, but with these high notes and this energy he should be able to qualify despite the strong competition in the semi-final 1. To me, this needs to be in the top 10. Ireland. I'm so glad we got a much more confident singer for Ireland than last year. Ryan knows and loves what he does. There are very few ballads this year, so I'm still hoping that this will get enough drift to fly into the final, although it's going to be hard. But as long as they don't push a cheesy fantasy staging onto the song like they did last year, I think it should be fine. Because he's one of the acts that actually can benefit from the lack of LED screens. He's going to be his best in a natural environment.
I thought we'd be together till we die. I'll forever wonder why. I thought we'd be together till we die.
UK. First off, I pull my imaginary hat to her. If you haven't heard, Madame from Madame Monsieur was sick and couldn't perform in Amsterdam for France, so kind of last minute, Suri stepped in and sang the English version of Merci together with Monsieur. And that's so beautiful to see. That the most important thing for them isn't to win, it's just to make a great show and to entertain us. So I've got massive respect for her. Unfortunately, this doesn't improve her own song. What it did show though is how great of a performer she actually is. And I'm so sorry that her talent is wasted on such a mediocre song. I wish her all the best in Lisbon, but even more hope that she will come back another time with a better song. Ukraine. I'm not going to talk about his English this time, I'm just pretending it's a fantasy language. I'm really admiring the confidence of this young guy. He's got more charisma than quite a few of his older opponents, and so much power behind his voice. And the song itself is actually quite good as well. It's catchy, it has a great melody and a great structure to stay interesting throughout the whole 3 minutes. So I'm really enjoying this, and I think he might end up on a good place in the final. Sweden. I'm quite split in my opinion about Sweden. On one hand, it gets a little boring to repeat the same choreography over and over again, but on the other hand, it just works. Benjamin gets more comfortable every time, and I'm actually amazed how well this choreography works without the light installation. I wish we could see more diversity from him though. So even though I enjoy watching and hearing him a lot, I'm kind of left with a slight meh. But it's all coming down to Lisbon, and Of course, the whole setting of his performance is made for a big production, so it will do well for sure. Latvia. I'm afraid this whole performance feels like she's auditioning for a musical. Every step is planned exactly, and in contrast to Beniamín Ingrosso, it feels too calculated. It's all well made, she sings well, the song is okay, but it lacks realness in my opinion. So for me this is still a non-qualifier. Denmark. Rasmussen's performance in Tel Aviv and Amsterdam made it clear for me that the song itself isn't strong enough to work without the visual support of the staging. Or maybe it would be a strong song, but Rasmussen's styling just doesn't match the soft Disney vibe of it. I would expect something much more rough if I didn't know the song yet. This doesn't mean yet that it's going to crash in Lisbon, but for me it became clear that the staging will be a critical part in its outcome. At least he alone on stage doesn't work, no matter how well he sings. Moldova. It's a song that I really love to listen to on my phone. It's so much fun and sounds like the epitome of Eurovision. But sadly this doesn't translate onto the stage so far. I'm glad they got rid of their cheap fake mirrors for Tel Aviv and Amsterdam, but the majority of the performance is too stiff so far. I love the parts when they start dancing and jumping and animating the crowd, but the parts in between need more work. So I'm still hopeful that it can qualify, but of course it's not sure at all. Lithuania. I don't think it's a good idea to send a lullaby to the ESC. Everything is just a little bit too nice and soft. There's no edge and no power. Even a ballad needs to be presented with energy behind it. I'm sure the song could work well for a soundtrack, but it's just too boring to watch on the stage. I'm sorry.
These are the reasons I want you to know. Oh, you made this place feel like home. These are the reasons I can't let you go. Oh.
So that was the missing first half of my reviews for Eurovision in concert in Amsterdam. What do you think of these acts? Who are your surprises so far, positive or negative? Tell me in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more of me, just subscribe to my channel and click the little notification bell next to it so you'll know exactly when a video comes up. For now, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye.